Hello and welcome to another video from In3D Software. Today we're going to look at a number of different things. We want to look at IXPlan, IXCAD. We're going to look at some deliverables for both our customers, maybe our commercial partners, architects, perhaps even the fitting teams and delivery teams, as well as the production teams. So what I want to do is cover off a whole series of different parts and link them together into one large project. So what I'm going to do is take a kitchen design and I'm going to lay it out using IXPlan. We're going to supplement it with some additional design information from IXCAD. We're then going to create BIM exports for architects, IXScout exports for fitting and production teams, and we're of course going to put the production data through the system as well. So this is going to be quite a long video, so sit back and remember, if you've ever got any questions about anything that you see in the videos, just reach out to us and let us know, and we'll be happy to talk you through the process and what's involved and how the data can work. So on the screen you can see IXPlan, and the first thing I'm going to do is open up Room Plan. This is going to give me my room planning tools, and I'm just going to create a rectangular room up here, nice and simple, nothing overly complicated in here. So you can see in here I've got my rectangular room. I'm just going to go into the top view using the nav cube, and I'm just going to stretch this wall out a little bit. Now obviously you can type in set values for these things as well if need be, and I'm just going to lop the corner off here to create an L-shaped room. Okay, so I'll define the length of this wall and this wall, I think, and I can do that by clicking IX properties under the right click, and that then gives me my menus. So what I'll do is I'll just resize these here just to make them a little bit smaller, and I'll say that this wall here has a length of 2345, and this one here is going to be 3245. Okay, I need some other architectural elements to come in as well, so I'm going to drag in a door. I'll put it on this wall here, and I'll say that that's 200 millimeters from the corner, and I'll put in another door down on this wall as well and say that that should also be 200 millimeters from the corner, but I can flip the swing direction on those. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is add in some windows, so I'll choose these sort of tall patio windows, and I'll tab through to then specify window positions, again using my favorite dimension of 200 millimeters. Of course you'll type in whatever room requirements you have. So I've now got my 3D room, and you can see all of my windows are facing outwards, so let's just switch those and say that they are facing inside. So here's my handles now, and if I come around here, let's put a window on this back wall as well. So let's just get a bifold window, and I'll just say that this should be centered. So I can press C for center and then click on the midpoint on the AutoCAD wall. And then what I want to do is decrease the overall height and lift it up a little bit. So I'll say that the overall height of this thing should be 1200, and then the height off the floor should be 1050. That looks a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to have a U-shaped kitchen along this wall here. So the first thing I want to do is bring in my furniture. So I'll get rid of Room Plan, and I'll get rid of my Properties tab, and then I'll come into Configuration, and this will then bring up my catalogs. Now, the data in imos is provided here as a getting started database. Obviously, over time you would build up your own catalog of furniture, and you'd even build in your own configurator, as you can see in this case. So I'll go on to the gears, which are my global specifications or my global settings, and I'll make some settings in here. So I'll say that I want one shelf in both my tall and base units. I want my kitchen material for my plinth to be matte oak, and my worktop I'll just keep as this cement finish here. I'll go to my fronts, and again I'll change this to be a matte oak, and then I'll come down and specify that my drawers are all the same, which I'm happy with. My materials then I want to be matte white, and again you'd have all of this customized to your own catalogs and your own requirements. So that's all set to matte white. That looks good. My panels, I want those to be 19mm matte white to match my doors, so let's bring those in. Oh, this is a unicolor, so there we go. Where's my oak? There it is. And then I'll come down here and put in my filler materials as matte white as well. Handle wise, I like this little mini handle here, so we'll use this for the most part. And then I can save my specification this time as oak. So I can use that for later if need be. So let's apply that and then come in. And now because I know my product codes, I can just type in a code and it'll bring it up rather than me searching through. But I'll show you both ways. Base one door corner. Here are all my one door corner units. And I'm going to choose this L-shaped corner unit here, a 1200 version. And I'm just going to click on the plus. That will then bring it in and I can then move it around the room. It'll detect my walls. I'll drop it into place and you can see it's brought through my products. Now I'm in quite a high visual level here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide down from a level 6 to a level 1 and that'll simplify my model somewhat. So the next thing I need here is a dishwasher. So I'll just come up to here and say base one door fully integrated. And here's my integrated dishwasher. And then I want my sink, so I'm going to say base two door sink. And this time I do want to customize it, so I'll click on the text. And then I'm going to come down and find the sink that I want and drop that in place. Okay, so the next thing I want is a corner unit to come around this side. So I'm just going to come into this corner here and say again that I want a base one door corner. And I'm going to find the opposite hand in, which is in this case this one, and I want that to be another 1200 products. So again, I'll just click on the plus there, and that's now giving me a distance in between. I'll click on my laser in here, and you can see I've got a distance of 445 in between, and I can check my other dimensions as well if need be in here. So what I need now is a product of 445 width to go into here. So I'll put in here a I don't know, maybe some sort of like wine unit or something like that. So let's look for some shelves. Now, if I don't know the code, I can just go into the catalog, base units, here's my shelves, and this is a good product to then customize the width. So I'll click on the size here of 445, click on the plus, and then I can put it into position. Now, I don't like that this is white, so I'll modify the product and change it and say that this should be a wood grain product and oak matte to match, and that's now going to change my material finish in there. Okay, so next let's get something in on the end here. I don't know, maybe a drawer unit, and then that'll be it. So if we come into here, we'll say we want a drawer, so we'll go to base with drawers, and then let's get in a 2 drawer with 1 inner drawer in here and behind. Oh no, let's go for a 3 drawer so that it lines through with our other unit here. And then I'll bring in the width and I'll say that that should be 700 millimeters. I can then click add to basket, but that looks a little bit small. So instead, what I can do is just press S for stretch and then choose the direction that I want to stretch. In this case, I'm going to stretch it all the way out, and I can have it snap to the wall if I want to. But what I'll do is I'll just say, well, actually, overall, this should be 900 millimeters, and that looks a bit better. Right click to confirm, and I can then go up to the top and type VP for vertical panel, and then find an end panel to just drop onto that end there now. Okay, so I want some wall units to run along this edge here. So what I need is a wall filler right, and I'm going to choose this 900 one in here, but I'm going to just reduce the width in here just to make it a little bit thinner. You'll see I've got a live preview of my changes here as well. So let's put that into position. Then I need my wall 2 door. So I've got my 910 product here, and I can come in and then make some changes to this as well if need be. So for example, I might want to go to my lights and say that I want spotlights and uplights, and I'm going to choose this big one here and then this one, and then put that into position. Now I want that to line through, so again I'll press stretch, and then you'll see that it detects the products below so that they line through nice. So I've now got that lining through, and then I need another 2 door unit, so I'll just copy that product and put it to the side, but this time I'll stretch it back, and again you'll see that it then snaps to line through. I need my wall vertical panel as well, so let's find that, and in here I can just click on the plus and just drop this in place. Okay, this is looking quite good. Now we need to rotate around and look at the other side. So in this case, what I want to do here is maybe drop in a corner unit. So I'll say a wall to door corner, and then again alter the lighting scenario. So in this case, I want some spotlights to come into this corner, and then I've got a little bit of a gap here. So what I'll do is I'll just take off this and say that this is a wall 1 door, and in here I can say that this should be 300mm wide with the same lights and spotlights. And I might want another 1 door unit over here. And this one's a bit too small, you can see in here, so I want to get rid of that one. It's actually this one that I wanted. Here we go. Now again, of course, this is all customizable data, so you can set this up exactly how you want. And we'll copy over our end panel just here from one side to the other. Okay, so that's the end of our wall units in here. Let's get in a hob. So let's say we want a cooker, because I don't know the code, but I can just type in a description and it'll pull through the live text as well. So in here, let's make this a nice 900 one to match my other layout on the other side. And then this might be a gas cooker. And then in here, I'll choose this melee hob as well. Let's update. This looks better. I can click OK. OK. Now that my extraction unit has come in here, you can see it's clashing with my end panel, so that's not good. So what I want to do is just stretch my article here and then say difference minus 20mm. And then I can move my end panel back up to snap next to it. That means that I've now got just enough of a distance in between. Okay, so I need another 3 drawer unit in here, so I'll just say base 3 drawer, pull through this product, I'll click on the plus and then stretch that back and say overall that should be 350mm, just to kind of give me a bit of a buffer before my tall units. And I want to put my tall unit end panel here, so I'll say vertical panel, and then in here you can see I've got my tall vertical panel. I'll click on the plus. And then I need my oven unit. So I'll say 214, which is the height of my tall unit in this case, and I want another 3 drawer product in here, which is this one. So let's see what we have. I'm happy with my appliances, but I do want to change my lights to match. This looks okay. And then I'll copy that and then drag that across. Okay, so I'm happy with my overall design now. I just need to increase my level of detail and I'll get my cutout for my sink. I also want in here a bit of an upstand running around the room, so let's put in my niche panels. Okay, so let's look for my niche panels in here, and I've got niche and backsplash, so let's get a glass backsplash in here. And I can go to my material. In this case, you can see we've got different printed or unicolor. And in here, I'll just go for maybe a magnolia glass backsplash here just to go on top. So I'll click OK, put this into position, and then use the stretch command again to just stretch that into the correct spot. And I need that to run underneath my windowsill here. So I'll just copy that onto the other wall, but again use the stretch to then snap to the end point of my windowsill, and I can then stretch widthwise all the way up to this wall. And then what I'll do is I'll copy that onto this back wall all the way back to here, and it'll snap in line with my products. But what I want it to do is just snap in line with this one here, and then I'll copy it across. There we go. And then I want a little piece in here as well. So let's just copy that last piece over. And again, I'll just stretch that just to fit it in neat up to my end panel. Okay, this is looking pretty good now. I might need some installation items in here as well. So what I can do is I can minimize the catalog, and this time what I'll do is I'll just go into my deco and catalog and bring in some installation items. So I need water, gas and energy. So in here I'll say wall installation, we need high level plug sockets up at the top for all of my lights and so on. And what I'll do is just come back up in my level of detail here just so that we can include visualizations. There we go. And then I'll need another one over the other side, and probably another one over here as well. I'll also need an extractor in here as well for my extraction products. So I'll just drop this into place and then just move it along. There we go. And then I need gas as well. So we want that to come down at low level. So I'll move that right down at the bottom. And then we need some hot and cold water feeds on this back wall. So I'll drop those all the way down as well. Okay, if I switch into a wireframe view, you'll see that these points now come up where I need them to. And I also need some power supplies, I think, up here for my appliances. So let's just drop that down behind my microwave, and I'll just copy that product across as well. There we go. These will be detailed on my technical drawings in a second. So once I've got those, let's go to some sockets and say that we need a light switch by my door over here, and I need some sockets in my wall, and of course these are shown as European sockets, but we could change those to be whatever we need them to be. And then I might need some on this back wall over here as well. Okay, so now that I've got those, let's get some items in here just for decoration purposes. So I'll go over to my kitchen and I'll get a coffee machine in that corner there, just so that we've got some coffee on the go. And then if we come into here, we'll have our toaster next to it, some kitchen utensils as well, maybe some decorative items just to the side. And what else do we need? We need a standalone refrigerator. So we want a big American style fridge freezer in here because we've not got any of those. So we'll put that around the corner. And what else do we need? A table of some sort. So let's go to dining tables and just drop in a nice dining table in the middle here. And if we go into our top view, we can rotate this around. Actually, let's put our fridge over on the other side. There we go. So this is looking okay now. Perhaps a couple of other bits and pieces might be needed just to kind of make this look a little bit better for the renders. So if we come into here, we can go into our interior plants, that sort of thing. And yeah, let's get a couple of other bits. Okay, so first thing is to save the job. So let's come into our save button, and what I'm going to do is just save over this existing one because it already has some information in here already laid out. So what I'll do is call this in 3D IX demo kitchen, and I'll just save this, and that means that I can now come into a perspective view, and I'll now zoom into the space. And if I switch into a realistic view like this, you can see I now get a view of my kitchen area. So this is looking, there you go, that's looking a little bit better, I think, isn't it? So that we kind of get a bit of a view of everything. So I need to make a couple of changes to the light settings. So we have settings over here now in the new version where we can come into render settings and then go to the light lists. And then over here, all of my lights, I can go to the properties and specify that this is using real world lighting. So we'll go to the spotlights. We can say that these are targeted and the target should be on the floor. We also want to maybe change these to be a quartz style light, and we also then want to change our other render settings. So if we go to adjust exposure, we'll turn that on and we'll look for this setting in here where we get a nice background. We'll just brighten this up a little bit and we'll increase our level of detail. So I've gone all the way up to a high level of detail now, and this will then refresh the entire job and it will bring in all of the production information as well as all of the fittings. It'll also include things like edging information, the cutouts for the sinks, and then all of the other bits and pieces for the hardware. I just need to refresh my lights again now that I've done that refresh, but that shouldn't take a second. Quartz, there we go. Okay, we can also in this version of Plan use the tool to play article animation. So I'll just click on that and we can open up drawers to see the inside as well as doors. So I'll just click on this one. Okay, so now that we've got that, we can just click on the render button. And you can see the render window has popped up, and I'll just leave this running in real time. Okay, so I'm getting quite a lot of light flooding in from behind me, so I might just need to drop that lighting down a little bit more just to kind of make that look a little less bright. So let's just stop that. I'll minimize, go to my environments, make it a little bit darker, and then we'll just rerun that again. And what we might do as well is just drop the lighting power down on the lights. Let's see how we do now. So of course you can spend as much time as you like on the rendered visualizations, adding different things into them to kind of just give a real sense of realism to all of this information. And the longer you spend on them, the better they look, obviously. Okay, but for now I think that looks okay. We'll just let that finish rendering, and then we'll click save. And I think what we'll do is we'll just capture one more. We'll just come around this side, I think, a little bit, and then zoom into the space. Maybe shut that door and open another drawer. And rerun the render. Okay. let's just let this finish, and then we'll save this one, and then we'll move on to technical drawings. Okay, so let's save that. And we'll close that down. And then the next thing we want to do is run technical drawings. So we'll turn off the environment, go back into parallel, wireframe from above. And then for the technical drawings, let's get rid of some of this information in here for the decorative items. We don't need those now that we have our renders done. So we'll just delete those out. And then in here now, all I want to do is just click on my drawing views button. Okay, so you have to remember now that I have the drawing level set to a level 6, which is the highest visualization level, which is going to include all of the hardware and fittings and details. And of course, we don't necessarily need to do this. We can have it at a lower visualization level if we want to. This will then speed up this drawing creation quite a lot, but it will then simplify the drawings. Now, depending on the requirements, that might be a required setting. Or if you want a really high level detail, then obviously keep it at a higher level here. So you can see it's created my plan view, and it's then created all of the dimensions. So green dimensions in this case indicate walls, pink, tall, red worktop, and then blue is any base cabinets. And then it's created the elevations based off these as well. It's then going to sheet up my technical drawings for me. So let's have a little look at some of the drawings that have been produced. As I mentioned, the plan view has the dimensions in here. It has symbols representing the cabinets below the surface, identifiers for position numbers and cabinet codes, as well as the elevation markers in here as well. We have symbols for our electrical outlets, water and gas as well can also be detailed up. On the elevation views, the same symbols are then detailing where our gas and elevations are, door swing identified, and our cabinets in here with the position numbers. If we zoom in, you can see that we've got material specific hatching and fill colours, as well as the materials that have been detailed in here as well. A better view might be this one here, where you can see the shelf pegs and adjustable shelves detailed in here as well. Now, if we want to, we can also have hidden lines detailing the entire build, or just simple internal shelves if required. Okay, so these are our drawing views that have been created, and as I've said in here, you can see it sheeted those up for us as well. So what we'll do now is we'll just quickly print these to PDF. So let's go to PDF view, and we'll output those. And then the next thing that we want to do is start to look at the quotation. So we'll do that after we've built a custom unit, I think, in IX CAD. So now that we've done the drawings, let's switch to IX Design or IX CAD. And what we'll do is we'll hide the drawings for this next section. So if we go to isolate, we can now hide sections, and that will then hide the drawings. And then over on this back wall, we may want some sort of media unit or some sort of cabinet that's going to represent a bespoke piece of furniture. So let's zoom in on this side here and use the Article Designer tool. So I'll switch into a realistic view. And then over here, what I'll do is I'll go to the Start button and bring in iExplorer. So I've now got my two menus docked. And then I'll go to my order related settings and come into getting started, basic data, and then the materials for my carcass in here. I want to specify this as being an oak to match the rest of my kitchen. and I'll do that for the fronts as well. And for my handles, this is under the construction settings. So let's just drop this in for the tabs behind and then click apply. Okay, so what we want to do now is bring through my settings. Okay, so let's start Article Designer. We'll go to the Design tab and then Article Designer, and then we'll bring through this 500 cube. And we can use the stretch command straight away to then stretch this to be roughly the size of the product that we want to make. So we need to allow for that door swing there. But this looks about right proportionately. So what we'll do is enter that size. And then if I just drag my menus over to the side here just to resize them a little bit, what we can do is then start adding parts to this. So let's get that in there. And this one as well. We'll add in a top, a bottom, a left and a right, and that's now made our four-sided box. What I'll do is just zoom in a little bit here and isolate the product, so we're just looking at that in its own. The top and bottom are inset panels, so it knows to bring these in and let the sides run through. But I want to change that, so let's make that top an onset top, and I can choose that from the library. So let's change from inset to onset products, edged all the way around. And then what we want to do is also change the base. So let's make this a freestanding product and have the base brought in. And then what I want to do is have a plinth style base that's running all the way around. So I'll take this product and I'll say that this is the front, left, right and back. And then in here, I can copy that part into all of those sections and change my trims so it's mitered. I'll then say that it should be -50 on all sides. And then when I click apply, we'll now have our box underneath in here. I can view the construction without coming out of Article Designer by clicking on the new button here. And that will then show me my build. So this is looking good. The next thing that I want to do is come in here and then add in a partition. So I'll say that this is a partition and I want to divide this equally into thirds. So I'd use a linear division of 1 to 1 to 1. This has then changed this into 3 zones. And in my middle zone, what I want to do is add in a fixed shelf. And I'll say the fixed shelf should be 100 millimeters from the top. So I'll say 1 to 100 millimeters, and that now gives me my void here up at the top. And then below that, what I want to do is add in some drawers. So I'll just say that these drawers now should be equally spaced. So I've now got 4 drawers, and what I'll do is make these inset. This looks a little bit better. And then on the left and the right hand side, I also need a back in there as well. So if we orbit around and look at it from the back, we've now got our back in there. We'll change that to be our solid back, so it's the same material. And then in here we also want the same back in the outer sections. An adjustable shelf. And again, we'll just use linear division in here, and then we want a door. And this door in here, I'm going to change to be an inset door to match my inset drawers. So let's go to inset, single part, and in here I want to pull top. And I'll say that this should be hinged on the right hand side. Okay, this is looking a lot better. The next thing that I want to do is have this copied over onto the other side, and the easiest way to do that is to collect the entire area, copy it and paste it in here, and then all I need to do is change that side panel, the door, to be on the left hand side. Okay, so this is looking a lot better. And then what I want to do now is just have a cable put into the top of that top there. So what I can do is just go to the top shelf and then say that I want a circular pocket. And in here, I'll just say that I want a circular pocket controlled with a linear division. I want that to be 100 millimeters by 19 millimeters deep. And I want it to be in the top face, and in the back, I want that to be 140 millimeters from the back edge. There we go. So this is our bespoke piece of furniture. I'm quite happy with this. Let's drop it down into position. And then obviously we can add in other bits and pieces in here as well if we want to. What I'll do now is just save the job. And we'll put it into a quotation. So let's go to Start, Save Order As. We'll save the job, we'll create a basket and run calculation, and we'll also run Document Manager. So Document Manager is a tool that's going to allow us to generate a number of different types of outputs. In this case, it's going to generate some thumbnail images of each and every product that we can then have brought through onto the quotation or onto the reports. So let's save that, and we'll just let imos do its thing. I'm going to run it down this workflow, which is going to generate all of the CNC information. So I'll click Start. And this is going to generate all of the CNC information now. So you can see 246 programs have been generated, and these have all run down a nest, edge, and then drill workflow. Depending on the factory and how it's set up and what type of CNCs have been installed, we would recreate a digital version of the workflow, and this would then generate a CNC file for each machine at each station, at each stage of the parts production process as well. So all of the nesting information is then captured for one machine, and then any horizontal or rear face drillings would be done on the back face. You can see in here all of the parts are then detailed out. We have the stop location, any drilling information. We also have, in this case, the grain direction for the actual material as well. And if I come in, you can see on the machine we have the nesting contour. It's showing me my tool rotation and the rotation around the part. I then have my grooving, and then all of the subsequent drills as well. The next step would then be to edge band all the way around, but if we look to this part, you can see after the nesting operation we go to a secondary machine, which then allows for all of the horizontal drills as well. Okay, so now that that's done, let's look at some outputs. What I'll do is I'll open up IX Organiser. And in here we can see the order manager. Here we have the kitchen, and it's priced up this kitchen at just under £12,000. If we open it up, we can see the individual prices for each of the products. Things like glass splashbacks, the bespoke product in here, which is quite a lot of money, as you can see. We then also have wall cabinets, wall units, tall units, and the purchased items up at the top. Some of these items are relatively cheap. So what we can do in here is alter these. I can also increase the quantity of these parts as well if I need to onto the actual bill of materials, and then I can also alter any other parts of the pricing structure in here. For example, the margin, by going to the calculation principle. This will allow me to alter how much profit we make, and by marking up the individual materials and the manufacturing costs, we can then alter the price as well. Let's go to the header data and we'll add in our picture. Go to the dashboard and you can see now we have our quotation ready to go. This is then, if we zoom in, giving me a breakdown of every product and the cost, and then a bespoke thumbnail has been generated with the document manager detailing all of these individual items out, including, when we get to the bottom, our bespoke product. Now that we've got this in here, we can then save this as a PDF, Excel or Word document and send it to the customer. And then if we go to the reports, we can generate all of our other type of reports in here, including things like labels, cutting lists, picking lists. I'll just generate one of those now as an example. Here you can see the position number that's allocated. So this is a label that would be stuck onto the back of the carcass after it's been assembled, ready for delivery to site. So we have our CNC files generated. We've sent that to our optimizer. We also then have our quotation and our production lists. Let's have a look at some of the other outputs that we can generate. So the first thing that we want to do is switch back to CAD. And what I'm going to do now is go to the top view. And in here, I'm going to switch to output. And in IX Scout, I'm just going to click New Selection and Windows Select over the model. Okay. I then also want to generate a different type of output. In this case, it's an IFC output. But what I'll do now is generate it at a lower level of detail, because this is going to go to a BIM IFC model, which we want to then share with our customers or the main contractor or the builder. So in this case, let's go to the demo and call it BIM model. Save, and we'll generate this. Okay, so we now have our BIM export. Let's also create a different type of export. Let's create a VR link. So again, I'm just going to go into my factory folder here and then create my VR link export. This one was a little quicker because it doesn't have as much BIM data or product data in there as well. So let's have a look at both of those exports. I'll just bring up my folder. And in here you can see we have our BIM model, which I'll just open up. Let's drag this across. So here's the BIM model now. And you can see in here we have an accurate representation in 3D, but we also have all of the production and information about the actual design. So if we come over here, let's just drag this out a little bit, move it up. You can see we have the information about the job and then every single product, including the height, width, depth of each product. And this information can then be shared with architects or anybody using some sort of BIM modeling software. Okay, so let's look at the other. And in this case, we have a VR software or VR compatible software. which will just load up. And in here, I'll just import my file. Okay. So this is a nice piece of software that allows us to experience the design in 3D and walk around it as if it's a game. And we can then replace the materials with real life rendering materials within this package very quickly and easily as well. So, for example, I might want plaster. Oh. And then we can drop this onto the walls, onto the ceiling. And then in here, we wanted oak. So we can drop this onto our furniture in here. And then we wanted chrome for our handles, more glass. So you can see very quickly we get a nice 3D model that we can then experience in 3D by walking around and visualizing it. Let's look for a worktop material. So we'll go for marble. And then we need a floor tile as well. So let's bring that one in there. Okay. So here's our 3D model that we can view in virtual reality. Let's shut that down. And then let's look at the final export in this case, which is IX Scout. And then the production information as well. So what I'm going to do is just save the job one last time and shut it down. And then I'm going to run the IX Scout export. And then once that's finished, we'll look at the deliverables together. Okay, so now that the export for IX Scout has been completed, let's open it up on a separate web-based device. So if you was to imagine that this is a tablet or a laptop, we go to an internet browser, we can then log into IX Scout, and this will then provide us all of the jobs that are now ready for production. In this case, we can see the IX demo kitchen here. And if I go to the viewer, let's just maximize this. Here is our kitchen now. And we can orbit around and look at the different parts of the kitchen if need be. So in here, for example, we can choose the corner product. Here's the demo. Here's the exploded view of that product with the fittings and all of the parts. And then if we come in, we can start looking at the individual part level information as well in here. Now this is really useful because what this allows us to do is digitize all of the outputs and have them online so that anybody can gain access to them. This includes all of the setting out drawings, layouts, elevations, sections, including the visualizations and all of the other reports. We have some of those already natively built into Scout. So if I wanted to see edging information, I can click on the edge, and then that will give us a list of all of the individual parts and how they're edged, where the grain direction is. And if I want to look at that within the model, I can then zoom to that part as well. Another useful part of IX Scout is that it allows me to scan a QR code and then have that return the parts. So on the labels, we'll have a part that could state which part it is within the assembly. And if that part was damaged, for example, this drawer front, what I can do is go to the chat and then make a note on site. So if I was on site and I damaged a drawer front, I could say, I've damaged this part, please remake and send to site. And then anybody else who's got access to Scout can then see this in here. They would open up Scout and then it would highlight that this was the damaged part, and that would be the part that then needs to be resent. So over here on the left hand side we can see a list of all of the products. We then have in here as well the rendered visualization. If we go to the station views, we can see specific station views for any of the individual products. So for example, in this case, I've just got a list of all of the products and I can just click on them and it'll give me the technical drawing for each one, all online. Okay, so this is IX Scout. We also have our BIM export, our virtual reality export, we have our rendered visualizations, and then we also have the ability to create the technical drawings, quotations, and renders from IX. If you've got any questions, if you'd like to know more, then please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much.